Welcome to another episode of the Business Club or the Entrepreneurs Club. Today, we're going to talk about credit scores. It's very, very important for us to get a very high credit score. Whether we need the loan or we don't need the loan, when you're starting a business, you want to make sure you have a good credit score. You might need to apply for a loan. You might need to apply for a credit card. You might need, people are trying to pursue your business or buy your business off. They're going to do a little bit of background checking on you. The higher your credit score looks like, the more successful, more likely you're going to be in getting whatever financial support you need. Maybe it's a small business association loan. Maybe it's a government loan. Maybe it's an interest-free loan. Maybe it's whatever it is. You're going to have that opportunity. There's people that have gold and silver cards and black cards where it's pretty much unlimited. They can go in and just put that credit card to get $50,000 or $100,000 of a purchase. And for 30 days, they don't have to make a single payment because they have a good credit score. And it's very easy for us to transition from an average score to an excellent score. So let's start talking about credit scores today. The maximum credit score is 850. So our prayer is all of us to get to 850. But in that journey, from 300 to 629, if your score is between 300 and 629, that's considered bad credit. From 630 to 689 is considered fair credit. From 690 to 719 is considered good credit. And then from 720 to 850 is considered excellent credit. So let's say that again. From 300 to 629, bad credit. 630 to 689, fair credit. 690 to 719 is good credit. And then 720 to 850 is considered excellent credit. And that's where we'd like to be. All right. So now there's about 13 different things that we can do to get to that excellent credit. But there's a point that I'd like to make, a couple of points before we get to those 13 points. Ironically, there's a lot of people that work very hard. They pay their bills on time for years. They never miss making their payments, and they still have bad credit. And that's what we want to talk about is what are those little things that I need to do to build my credit? Just because I pay my bills on time doesn't mean that I'm getting credit for it. It doesn't mean that I'm getting good credit. So today we want to talk about some of those factors so that I make sure that I'm utilizing the different things, those 13 different points, so I can build my credit. There's different factors that allow us to build that credit. The second thing is one of the fastest ways to build your credit is to get to someone to co-sign for you. So if I have bad credit, you have good credit, and I come up and say, hey, why don't you please help and co-sign for me? That's a very fast way for me to build my credit. However, don't you ever, ever, ever co-sign for anyone. If you want to build your credit, don't ever co-sign for anyone. Unless it's a family member that you trust so much. And if they don't make their payment, you are going to go into your pocket and make that payment for them. Otherwise, do not co-sign for anyone. You don't want to get to complications, especially with friends and family. So don't co-sign. Stay away from trouble. The other thing also is family members. As you're building your credit, you also want to build your spouse's credit. You also want to build your children's credit. So at the age of 15 or 16, at a lot of the banks, you can take your kids to the bank and open a bank account for them and get them their ATM card and put them in your credit card and start, going to different websites and checking their credit score so that by the time they're 18, they have an 850 score. They have their own bank account, so they're comfortable maneuvering in that world of maintaining good credit and not having problems in that area, that financial area. So what are those 13 areas we need to be aware of as we're building our credit? Number one is you have to always request your credit report. About once a year, you get a free report, but also there's websites such as Credit Karma. The other one is Equifax or Experian. Experian is EXPERIAN.com or creditkarma.com, where you can go in, create an account, and regularly go in and check your credit score. And they're also, Experian and Credit Karma will give you recommendations of credit cards that you can get and what accounts are not being paid on time and what accounts you're paying on time and how they're calculating your credit score. Very, very helpful websites. You can also call the agencies that are giving that credit information about you, which include Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Number two is verify the content on the credit reports. There's a lot of times that you can go to a gym and get a 3-month membership, You paid your 3 month, you're done, and then a year later, your credit score is all the way down. Reason being is the gym is still charging and charging and charging you, even though you only had a 3 month, but they went over a year. So just because it's in your credit history doesn't mean that it's true. Log into your credit report, look at the different accounts, look what's affecting it negatively, and dispute it. If it's something that's wrong, which takes us to point number 3, you can always file a credit report dispute in the case of an error. So if you notice something like a gym is still charging me, even though whatever, then you need to go back and dispute it. Number 4, pay your bills on time. Every time. This is something that's very important, that, again, when you have your bills, make sure that they're being paid on time. You can make your full payment, but if it's a few days later on a credit card, the credit card is going to report that you don't have the best of payment history, and that's going to affect your credit score. We don't want that happening, so we want to make sure we're paying our credit card payments, bank payments, and so on time. Number 5 is become an authorized user on a credit card. We kind of talked about that with the co-signing and so on. Number 6, pay off debt and accounts and collections quickly. So if worst case scenario, I have some old accounts that I have not paid on time, that's one thing that you want to handle as soon as possible. Pay them off so they're off your credit report. There's another thing. So you're always going to find people online that say, hey, we can help you clean your credit. Just pay us X amount of dollars. You don't have to pay them. If you do, it's up to you, but you don't have to. Simply call up a company. Let's say company XYZ owes me, I'm supposed to pay them, there's an old account that I haven't paid $2,000. You can literally call them up and say, hey, I have $1,700 right now. If I paid in full, could you remove that from my credit? More than likely, they'll say yes. 80% of the time, if it's an old account, they will settle for 80% of the balance. So a lot of people, that's what those companies do, is they'll call those offices and say, my client. So instead of that, you could do it yourself. Just call up the old accounts and say, at this point, I can afford 80%. More than likely, they'll accept it. It's off your credit score, and you're up to a better, shinier, debt-free kind of credit score. Number 7 is report rent and utilities to credit bureaus. A lot of people don't realize that they think it's only credit cards that affect, or loans that affects my credit score. We don't realize that I can actually have my rent and some of my bills, such as my phone bill, my internet bill, my gas bill, also reported to those bureaus, and Equifax and TransUnion and so on, and that would increase my credit score. But I need to register it. You can go to a website such as Experian.com, and they do have a feature, boost feature. I think they charge for that. Or you can call those agencies and add it. And once it's added, then as you're making your monthly payments, your credit score is also going up. Number 8 is apply for secured loans or credit building loans. A lot of banks, not all the banks, but a lot of the banks have secured loans. I have $5,000, so I can go to a bank with my bad credit and say, I need a loan. Here's $5,000 in my account. Now they'll give you a loan for $5,000 against the money that they have, that they already have your money in there. But it's being reported that you took a loan for $5,000. You're making payments on time. So in a few months, that's really going to boost my credit score. So a secured loan, and a lot of banks do that, is something that's really going to help us. Next, number 9 is a secured credit card. If you go online, you're going to find there's a lot of credit cards, a lot of companies that have what's called a secured credit card. It's a Visa card, it's a MasterCard, it's a credit card. The only thing is, if I apply online, is I'll deposit the same amount that I'm going to have the credit card for. So if I have $1,000, I'll deposit $1,000 with them, and then I get a credit line of $1,000 against the money that I have. If I deposit $200, then my credit card is for $200. So you get to deposit an amount, and then the credit card is for that amount. Usually after 6 months, that allows your credit score to go much higher. And after so many payments on time, they will withdraw that deposit and say, okay, well, we trust you now. So your credit score, your credit is good. You get to keep your money, and we trust that you. So it's really going to help us. So it's a win-win situation sooner or later. Number 10 is always use less than 30% of your available credit. Just because if I have a credit card that has $10,000 does not mean that I should use all $10,000. Unless it's an emergency, always do not spend more than 1/3 of your credit limit. It looks good on your credit score. Number 11, request a higher credit limit. Every so often, if your credit score is 5,000, come up to 6 months and say, hey, could we increase it? How much? Let's go to 7,000. The more credit availability that you have, the more your credit score is going to go as well. So you want to always regularly, after so often, maybe every 6 months or so, ask for a credit increase. Number 12, keep credit cards open. A lot of times, I have 2 credit cards and suddenly I get a third one that has a good, I like the terms of the third one. So what do? I close the other accounts. Credit score, usually when you have more accounts, so I have, let's say, 5 credit cards and the accounts are there for a longer time, let's say 3, 4, 5 years, then my credit score is going to go higher. If I have 2 accounts, 2 credit cards, and for a shorter time, 2 years, my credit score is going to be lower. So if you have more accounts, keep them open. You don't have to use them. You don't have to use the credit cards. But the longer the account is open, the better it looks on your credit score. Number 13 is cluster your hard credit inquiries. What does that mean? If, let's say I need to get a car loan and a house loan, I need to get a car loan and a credit card. So if I apply for the house loan today, this is called the hard credit inquiry. The bank is going to go check my score. That's going to bring me a couple of points down, a few points down. 2 months later, I want to buy a car. That's going to take another dip. So today it goes a dip, 2 months later goes another dip. So it's better to do them both at the same time, the same day or the same week. If I'm going to do 2 credit checks, one for a car, for a house, the closer I do them together, the lower the dip. The further apart it is, the deeper it's going to be. So cluster your hard credit inquiries together. And first and foremost, always remember to go to different websites or request your credit score, either by going to the websites such as Experian.com or CreditKarma.com, or even calling for your annual report from Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, because your credit score is very valuable to you personally and also for your business. You want to be able to get any loan that you need and impress and cover whatever you need at any given point. You'll be surprised. So best of luck for all of you.